Record. Thank you very much. I'm a man called Dave. I'm at the Rossum Juice Bar here in Bandon, Oregon. And of course, I've invited a bunch of my friends. Not everybody shows up except for the ones who are eager and hungry and ready to learn. My goal and my mission, I would say, is to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And most of us aren't doing that. That's why I've dedicated to this Coos Freedom Friday is an opportunity for me to showcase, my opinions, to explain myself a little bit, and then share my screen. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go share sound. And the first thing that I'm going to do is share my Google. And of course, last couple times I talk about 28 US Code Section 3002, which is definition section under the Cornell Law School. And I like to scroll down to number 15 under United States means a federal corporation. Most people don't realize this. And I am asking you, please do your own research. Don't take my word for it. But this is what I found on Google. And right here, of course, deprivation of rights under the color of law. This is United States Code 18, Section 242. Deprivation of rights under the color of law, which means that, like, for example, I can't be arrested for showing up late for work, or not arrested, but like cited. I can't be cited or written up for not getting to work on time if there's not an employee contract that says I agree to these terms and conditions. And we all know about terms and conditions. We know that most of the time we sign them and agree to them without reading them. We don't call our attorney to make sure that this is a good binding contract. We just agree all the time, agree. So we're being trained and programmed to just agree. And what if it's under color of law? Are you sure you're going to want to agree? Because if you don't work for that corporation, how are you going to accept a reprimand? How are you going to accept if you get fees or fines if you're not an employee or somehow contracted with that corporation? So that's why deprivation of rights under the color of law is important, because most of these codes and these statutes, these mandates, you guys remember mandates, it's important because they're not law. If Oregon revised statutes were law, then why not call them Oregon revised laws? Simple, right? But instead they call them Oregon revised statutes, which a statute is a corporate bylaw. And of course, I'm not an employee of any corporation. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the captain and the CEO of my entrepreneurship, but also I have an authority. My author is my creator, and that's my authority. So is the state of Oregon or the United States, which is a federal corporation, do they have authority over me? The question is, I'm going to say no every time, honestly. No corporation, certainly no corporation, has authority over a man called Dave. And that's why I market myself. Everybody knows me as a man called Dave, because I want to declare my status as a man called Dave right off the bat. So there's no question. And last week we looked, City of Bandon, Oregon, in their city charter, which was created in 2002, which is a long time ago. Section 2, Chapter 1 says that the name of City of Bandon, Oregon, continues under this charter to be a municipal corporation with the name City of Bandon. Okay, so it's a corporation just like Rossum Juices and Smoothies, just like Ray's Grocery Market, employee-owned corporation, just like Subway, just like McDonald's and Burger King. Okay, and they can't tell me what to do. So why can the City of Bandon? So I also went to Coquille, Oregon, City of Coquille Charter 1967. Okay, adopted by the voters in 66. Same thing, Section 2, Chapter 1. The municipality of Coquille, which if you look up municipality, is going to say a city or town that has corporate status and local government. Okay, corporate status, and shall continue to be a municipal corporation. Let's look that up. Municipal corporation hold on, my screen's blocked. Municipal corporation is the legal term for the local governing body, including cities, counties, towns, townships, charter townships, villages, boroughs, municipally owned corporations. Okay, so why are corporations in charge of men and women? That's my question. So I looked up right here, what is a municipal corporation? They manage local services such as police and fire departments. So I looked up City of Bandon. They have two corporations, one for the police department itself, so separate liability, most likely. So make decisions about local policies and regulations, plan the development of urban areas, establish zoning regulations, manage public works projects. Nowhere does it say that it has authority to administer the property of men and women. Okay, so that's like if I have if they have a dress code and I work for them and I violate their dress code, then they have the opportunity to write me up or fire me. And most of the time, what we're doing is we're following rules that don't apply to us. And for example, this man here is our Coos County Sheriff, Gabe Fabrizio, and he's relatively new. You know, most people that have lived in Coos County for a long time, they don't know him. I've asked around. You know, I say, hey, you've been here for multiple generations. What do you know about our sheriff? Nothing. Really, the truth is most people don't know anything about him. So I looked him up on Google, and the Oregon State Sheriff's Association, which an association is like a private, maybe like a private corporation, members only, you know, type thing. So I don't think I can join as a member the Oregon State Sheriff's Association. I don't think I meet the qualifications. That's okay. I don't want to. Gabe Fabrizio, though, for example, has his own profile. And it says here that, which I thought was interesting in this first paragraph, it says that he took office in 2023. Of course, I remember that time. I was running for mayor of City of Bandon for around that time also. And I did get some write-in votes. Of course, people were tired of our current mayor and her 20-year plus long reign over City of Bandon. But Sheriff Gabe Fabrizio grew up in Northern California and joined the military immediately after high school in 1993. Gabe spent about 20 years in the Army as a psychological operations specialist. I had to look that up. I didn't know what that was. Apparently, it's a separate division of the Army under the Special Forces, and it's called the PSYOP division. Okay, so that's very curious to me because I know that psychological operations are very common right now because of the Smith-Muntz Act was repealed back in the Obama administration, and that allows, which because during the time of it being enacted, it made it against the law or illegal to use propaganda against your own people. So when the Obama administration repealed or vetoed or whatever they did to the Smith-Muntz, look this up, don't take my word for it, Smith-Muntz Act around the 2012 era, it allowed our government, which is a federal corporation, which we just learned, to use propaganda against its own people, which means that these psychological operations were now military operations against Americans. Very curious. And our sheriff here in Coos County is a veteran of the PSYOP division, was a first sergeant of 4th PSYOP group. So I had to do some digging around, and I'm going to stop my screen share here. So I did some digging around, and I found this video. The video is called Ghost in the Machine. I've seen a movie from Japan called Ghost in the Machine, and it has a lot to do with AI, and it has a lot to do with transhumanism, and it has a lot to do with the merging of man and machine. And so, you know, most of us, we realize now that we are part cyborg because we can't go anywhere without our phones or our tablets or our devices. And now that means that machine has already merged with man. But my question is that this video that we're about to see is a GoArmy.com type commercial propaganda recruitment. I'm not sure what it is, but it's directly from the PSYOP division, Special Forces of the Army. So here we go.
As the world watches and listens in horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering do or die around me. You say your last good night while I get
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by PSYWAR.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldier, and at the same time
is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
gripping at my skin, the walls of night close in.
but the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
As I wait to say my last goodbye.
These are the PSYWAR soldiers.
All right. So, I mean, they're telling you, and part of it is that it's mostly truth in plain sight, I would say. But one thing that we don't know is we don't know who we elected, or, you know, you could also say who was selected to be our sheriff here in Coos County. And I'm sharing this right here. This is my Coos Freedom Friday, some things that I've saved in that I want to present. And one of them here is the power and authorities of the county sheriff. So if I open that up, and I did that wrong, but just go here. Constitution for the United States of America. And most, I would say 95% of patriots, so not everybody would be considered a patriot, but 95% of patriots don't know that there's at least two constitutions for and of the United States of America. And if United States is a corporation, then which constitution is for or of the corporation? That's the question. So this is a document that I'd be happy to email to anybody if you ever wanted a copy of it, but it's the power and authority of the county sheriff. So it does talk about due process. It talks about the Constitution, of course, for the United States. And as you go down, the simplicity of law. So this is not difficult for most people to, learn about Marbury versus Madison, which has I want to say, over 2,000, not one, but been used and has stood the test of time, put it that way, as a defense for the common law, and how we still have these jurisdictions of law that exist, which is why most of the time you can find me challenging jurisdiction. If somebody says that I can't do something, my first question is, under what authority do you say I can't do this thing? Because my authority is the Creator, who is my author, which is the root word of authority. And I would say that the sheriff has authority over me if I've done harm to another. And that's what a lot of this describes. It's called do no harm to any living creature or any living thing. And that's basically the common law, but it's also the golden rule. That's, like you could say, God's law is don't harm any living thing. This document was emailed to me by a friend, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Oh, I pressed the wrong one. Let's see. Here we go. We'll go here. And we'll go here. Yeah, there it is. So God is government. This is a District of Columbia Act of 1871. If you don't know much about this, you definitely need to figure it out, because it has a lot to do with the 14th Amendment citizenship. Now, one thing I've learned is that, for example, natural law is given to citizens, and if a corporation is also considered a person, because we learned about that under the United States Code, that a corporation has the same title as a person or a tribe of Indians or a trust or even a local government is considered a person under the law. Then who does the 14th Amendment grant rights to? Persons. And if persons are considered corporations, then is it possible that corporations figured out a way to obtain natural rights? And I believe that's what's going on. I mean, it's hard to say whether or not, but of course, a corporation is like a corpse, is a dead entity. A corporation is a who. It's not a corporation is a what. It's not a who. Man and woman is who. So who is coming forward with the claim? Generally, a corporation like State of Oregon, State of California, City of Bandon, City of Coquille. So that's why I explained just a few minutes ago that your local government is a municipal corporation, a corpse, a corporation, a dead entity. So that's why this is important, because there's two constitutions, and I mentioned that already. There's a constitution for the United States of America Republic, and there's a constitution of the United States of America Corporation, 1871. Why is that important? Because the District of Columbia Act 1871, they incorporated themselves. It's like 10 square miles territory owned by the Vatican, which is also connected to the City of London. So DC, the City of London, and the Vatican, three-body problem. That's what I call it. But except it might be a problem of the past. We are seeing now that this Constitution of the United States of America, why did Donald J. Trump not put his hand on the Bible during his swearing-in ceremony? There's a lot of debate about that, but it's possible that you don't have to take an oath if you're already in the middle of the oath that you already took. So maybe he took an oath to the Constitution for the United States of America Republic, and why would he disrupt that oath by taking a fictitious fraudulent, phony oath to a phony corporation that's been bankrupt anyways. So it's the theater of war is what they've always called it back in World War I, which they called the Great War, World War II, it's always been called the theater of war. And in that video, Ghost in the Machine, you saw that man flip that inflatable tank. Well, that's something that you might not even realize, because our history books didn't teach us that this theater of war used inflatable blow-up tanks. And that is what created the illusion of war. And most people are still caught up in this, and I know that's okay. Some people can be, it's fine. But they are pledging allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, comma, and to the republic for which it stands, except lately in the last 100 years, it has not stood. We're working on that right now, definitely working on it. But when you pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, you want to be sure in your heart you're not pledging allegiance to a fictitious, fraudulent, phony corporation. And as you go down, the District of Columbia, this is a side-by-side comparison, so you can continue to go down. It's an exact side-by-side down to the detail. This one talks about Masonic rule. We don't want to hear about that. The Masons they say that they're the builders, right? They lay the cornerstones, the keystone, all this stonework, all this stuff. But guess what? Babylon's falling. We know that. So what's happening is that the republic is what was already there. It's like 2 in 1. And when this one goes away, this one's always there, right? The republic is there. And when the corporation falls, what's there? The republic for which it stands under God, our authority, right? And the District of Columbia is just a corporation. So if Walmart can't tell you what to do, then how can this fake, phony, fraudulent government? That's my question. And in 2020, 2021, we all found out that this corporation thinks that we are their property and they can treat us as such, right? I call it administering my property without right. My flesh and blood, this body, is my property given to me at conception, the spark of life. That's why I don't claim a birthday. I claim a spark of life day, because my birthday was 9 months prior to when the state issued me a day. And that's why this is like name of living soul in a flesh and blood man. That's what I'm talking about. I'm a man called Dave. Everybody knows man called Dave, except I'm not the all caps name. I'm not this corporate fictitious, what's called an ens legis. It's the Latin term for called a creature of the law, is an ens legis. And that's what they did, is they created this trust, this corporation, this sole proprietorship, this thing. They created this creature of the law, and they certified it with a registration, and they gave it a bond. They issued a bond. That's bondage. And my mother on my bond is named the informant on my bond. So what is an informant? It's someone who gives property up to another, or someone who gives someone up to another, like a confidential informant. What do? They snitch out someone and they give them up to the cops. So what did my mom do? Same thing. But did she do it on purpose? Nope. So that's why I'm going to stop my share, and I have this other really, really awesome, stop share. And we'll go here to this page, and I'm gonna email it. If you guys want it, I'll email it to you. But it says, let me tell you a story about life, a story about a new mother, happy, excited for life with her young family, a mother who grew up properly like the majority, educated in a public government controlled school system. She was brought up to be a good U.S. citizen, proud of her country and its government. Sounds like my grandparents, honestly. Like these older generations were definitely programmed to love the federal government, and pay your taxes on time and do everything by the book. But now 3 generations in, I'm asking why, And I'm saying, I don't like it. I didn't sign up for this. And we've got to discuss the terms and conditions, right? So now as it goes down, it talks about, while under the influence of painkillers and wanting nothing more than to be home in her comfortable bed, she is asked to pick a name for her flesh and blood living soul, and she was handed a stack of papers to sign to register her baby with the Department of Human Resources. That's what we are. We're human resources. Unknowingly, under duress and without full and honest disclosure, she, signing as the informant — definition of informant is one who gives up someone to another — she gives title to her bouncing baby up to the state of Oregon, state of California. It's what it says on the birth certificate. She takes her bundle of joy home, not knowing the long-term consequences of her actions. Her baby, registered as a vessel, an entity, a transmitting utility for life, is registered, bonded, and insured, and placed into a SESTQ public trust and forever bought and sold on the U.S. Treasury bonds under the LEIs through the CUSIPs numbers, which is the number on the back of the birth certificate, also on your military ID, your university registration. It all has an ID number. These are all issued to the stock market. It's being traded, hypothecated, bundled, and sold. You can look this up if you don't believe me. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. And we become the full faith and credit of the United States incorporated entity called the government. Upon the date of registration, 3 days to a month after the date, born live baby becomes vessel, presumed forever dead and lost at sea, until it hopefully one day returns to the land and claims its minor estate, the Sestiv QV Trust. And if you look into Nasara, Jasara, restoration, reclamation, these are the things that are going to be returned to us. This happened against our will and without our consent. This is treason. This is human trafficking. This is crimes against humanity. This is deprivation of rights under the color of law. This is everything that you can imagine and more. And most people do not even realize that it's happening to them. We're all being trafficked in one way or another. The mother, not knowing what took place, not having had full and honest disclosure, not having been taught during K through 12, which is government funded, goes home and does as she was taught and raises the child best she can. So the government, through fraudulent tacit agreement of one's own consent and one's own lack of knowledge, presumes and assumes. Now, I also want you to look up, if you're interested, the 12 presumptions of the Roman court. 12 presumptions and assumptions. These are the 12 presumptions that we have to rebut. Otherwise, they will stand as truth if not rebutted. That's how it works. So 12 presumptions of the Roman court are still in effect to this very day because we are bonded, registered, certified under Roman law. That's how it goes. We have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. I'm going to stop this share. So operate under color of law. Right here, this is what I'm talking about. They operate under color of law, which is not law. Oregon Revised Statute, California Penal Code. These are all codes, ordinances, mandates, color of law for citizens, persons, residents. Okay, citizens, persons, residents. That's CPR. Are you dead? Do you need CPR? No. You're a living soul, living man and woman under the divine jurisdiction of law. And we have constitutionally protected rights. But except for if you give those rights up knowingly or unknowingly, then now you have become a slave. And my goal is to not be a slave. So we only have a few minutes, and I'm going to open this up for any questions really quick. Do you have anything that you want to share or add or contribute in any way? Now is your time.
Hey, Jace, this is Athena here.
Hello, thank you so much. We've got 1 minute and 11 seconds, 111.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's not very much time. Well, I appreciate you holding these spaces here and just sharing everything. I wanted to talk about a conversation I'd had with a family member, and we had a conversation about Republican form of a Republican form of government or a Democratic form of government and what we have right now. And I had brought up to her Article 4, Section 4 of our Constitution. And I just wanted to finish off, I guess, with what we have here today on that.
Well, it does
I'm gonna read it.
guarantee, it guarantees a Republican form of government. And you know what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, because I know we have less than a minute, is I'd
Yeah.
like to dedicate the next episode or the next time I record to specifically start there, if that's okay with
Yeah,
you. And I'll
that
do
would be really
my own due diligence and my own research in the meantime, so I'll have a lot to come to the presentation with specifically that topic.